Have you ever thought that grinding your teeth or neglect can have something else going on in your body without knowing? Well, today we are going to discuss a very important issue, which is how mental health can affect your teeth and your oral health in general. And for this, we are very fortunate to have a couple of guests today, Tricia and Kurt Baker. Hi, Tricia and Kurt. How are you?
Hi,
Great. How you
good, very
doing?
good. Thank you.
So, Tricia and Kurt, they are going to discuss mental health from their perspective as parents. And they will guide us through what are certain signs and symptoms that you, as a parent, can see in your child, and what you can do to make sure that your child basically becomes more aware of what's going on and can open up to you or to somebody else regarding what's going on inside of them. Okay, Trisha and Kurt. So, Trish, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So we we had a child, Kenny Baker, and he struggled for approximately 3.5 years with a significant anxiety disorder and mental health issues, and he had suicidal ideation, and he did lose hope, and he ended his life 3 weeks before graduation in May of 2009. And unfortunately, before he died, he met with a lot of discrimination because people just don't understand that these are brain illnesses and nobody chooses to have a brain illness. Just like you don't choose to have heart disease or cancer. These are, a lot of them are genetic disorders. They have a strong genetic component to them. Why it's important for us as families to talk openly about them. Um, but he met with this discrimination because of lack of understanding. And then also, after he died, his memory met with tremendous discrimination. They wanted to put a sticker over his picture in the yearbook. You couldn't say his name in the building. They wouldn't do a memorial scholarship. They wouldn't do a memorial swim meet, even though he was a star swimmer. And then our daughter, who was also a student in the same building, received absolutely no mental health support. They said to me, "What seems to be the problem, Mrs. Baker?" The thought going back 16 years ago was, we're going to pretend as if Kenny never lived and Kenny never died. We don't have to talk about it. So we created, as a response, Attitudes in Reverse, where we have mental wellness educational programs, kindergarten all the way through college age. We do parent programs and professional development for businesses. And we want to educate people about these biological brain illnesses and let people know that there's no embarrassment, there's no shame in them. As I said, there's a heavy genetic component to many of them. And we want to get kids being able to ask for help. 1 out of 5 of our young people are affected. Only 1/3 of those are receiving mental health treatment. And then the average time period in this country between the onset of a mental health disorder and first receiving treatment for that brain illness is 10 to 11 years. Like I tend to tell kids, think about if you lived with cancer for 10 years, how the illness might progress in your body and that you might not even live through those 10 years. So that's our hope, is to be able to reach more children. We've educated over 250,000 children so far, mostly here in New Jersey. And then what sets us really apart is the fact that we use certified therapy dogs in every one of our programs, and that the administrators tell us that the retention rate on the material is far greater because they associate the material with meeting the dogs.
Hmm. Absolutely. When was the last time you started to, like that was years ago, like to feel that something was wrong or something was off with your child?
Believe it or not, when he was 6 years old, it's when the Zoloft commercials first came on the air. And he turned to me and he said, "Mommy, I think I need that." We did not ignore it. We spoke to the pediatrician about it. He had a therapist. We were very proactive,
Hmm.
but nobody really saw any signs.
Hmm.
And I have to be honest, I think the professionals are becoming better educated as well than they
Hmm.
were back then. I was kind of blown away when I found out years ago that um, counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists were not required to have any suicide prevention education. That has changed since. But can you imagine being a therapist and not understanding the suicidal mind? How do you help people who have those thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the mental health can be very difficult to diagnose because a lot of it's about intensity and duration. As an example, you could be sad, but you're not necessarily clinically depressed. And a
Mhm.
lot of that is an individualized issue. So for some people, they might be kind of a little bit on the downside all the time, but they're still fine. They're okay. And other people, that might be a red flag. So a lot of it is really understanding your loved one and knowing what kind of their norm is, how they typically ask, what their typical sleep patterns are, work patterns, play patterns, and things like that, and understanding there's a difference. And what makes it a little more complicated for youth is that they're going through things like puberty, and they're changing already, and so you have to incorporate these changes. Are these normal changes because they're hitting certain ages and certain things are happening in their life, or are these also potentially signs of or symptoms of a mental health disorder that might be developing? And that's why it's really key for parents to continue to communicate with their children so they have an understanding of the baseline. And if things do go off center a little bit, at least they know, hey, maybe we need to look into this a little bit further, get some professional input into what's going on right now. And that's where I think parents kind of miss it. They'll just dismiss it automatically, thinking, oh, they're just, having a phase or having a bad day or whatever. That could be true, but it might be more than that. So you have to kind of pay attention to all of those things, is our point of view. You really need to kind of pay more attention to what your children are feeling and don't just assume something automatically.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll mention about the students in our community, and most of the students that I've met in central New Jersey, is that they don't want to disappoint their parents. And a lot of them will keep these feelings and these thoughts to themselves because they don't want to add to their parents' burden or disappoint their parents. They don't want to let down their teachers. So they say, I'm going to handle this on my own. So what we do with our Coming Up for Air program is we give them the voice to be able to ask for help, for support. And it might be nothing, as Kurt mentioned, but it might be something. How do we help these young people find the words so that they can ask those safe, trusted adults to find the support that they deserve?
Yeah. So, what exactly do you guys do? Like, how can people reach out to you? How can people find you?
So we are attitudes in reverse, or AIR. Mental illness is like air. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Mhm.
Um, we do programs, kindergarten all the way through college age, all age appropriate. If anybody in business would like for us to come in and do a lunch and learn, that's something else that we will do so that we can educate parents. Parents are the toughest group to get in front of.
Yeah.
And if you do lunch and learns, have us come in. We'll talk about some of the signs, the symptoms, getting an understanding of what mental health disorders are, removing the stigma so nobody is embarrassed or afraid to talk about it. When Kenny was first diagnosed, he was embarrassed, and I'm really ashamed of myself to say I was embarrassed because I didn't know any better. We lied and we told people he had mono. We lied, as a family, we lied. And again, I'm ashamed of that now because I should have been able to talk openly. He should have been able to talk openly. But you're worried about the judgment, the criticism, the discrimination that's going to affect your child because they have this. It's a brain illness. Again, it's no different than heart illness, stomach
Mhm.
illness,
Yeah.
cancer. And that's the main message we have to get across to people. So people can reach us at our website. It's https colon backslash no
Flash.
forward slash forward slash the air.ngo. I'm going to let Kurt
Air.ngo.
repeat it.
Yep. Yep.
I'm going to let Kurt repeat it just
Yeah,
because.
that's right. Yeah, just if they just Google AIR.ngo, it'll come up, air.ngo. And we have a phone number, which is 609-945-3200. There's a lot of information on the website. As Trish said, we have a lot of programming, different ages for parents, adults, employers, children. So there's quite a bit on there. And we have the therapy dog program, which is very, very popular. There's many things that we can do. We're trying to just make things, healthier place for our children as far as mental health goes, and help parents to to see the signs and symptoms of the children so they can get them the help that they need as early as possible, because then you get a better result.
Yeah.
Yep.
Email is best for me. It's Tricia, Tricia, @air.ngo. Email's best. I answer email all hours of the day and night. I answer email. So now,
Yeah.
one statistic I want to add in here that makes me very sad is we've been doing this work for about 16 years, and there have been tremendous amount of cuts lately that's reducing the ability for schools to invite us in because of lack of funding. We receive no government funding, we receive no state, no federal funding. So it all depends on the donations the schools are able to make to us. And the sad statistic is for the 16 years we've been doing this, suicide was the third leading cause of death of New Jersey youth. As of 2024, that number is now the second leading cause of death.
Wow.
So it's getting worse. And unfortunately, with the cuts that are occurring, it's having a complete detrimental effect on our youth. One district that I work with, I've been going there for 10 years, and I've talked to over 10,000 kids. They have no money. They're declaring bankruptcy. Another district that we worked with for several years, they're shutting down 2 elementary schools and a middle school. They're losing counselors. They're losing teachers. Just when our children are in need of the support, it's being cut. And it just breaks my heart. And that's why anything, if people believe in supporting youth, the mental wellness of our youth, if they believe in our mission, anything they can do to help support us is greatly, truly appreciated.
Absolutely. And I'm going to talk about it from like a dental point of view because that's what I do all day long. Uh, Basically, an anxiety is one of the biggest signs and actually symptoms of that something is going on. I mean, I personally, I have some anxiety going on, but it also, if it started to become an anxiety plus other things combined together, like multiple factors, like an anxiety with some neglect, like the person is not taking care of themselves. They don't want to even, they don't want to talk to somebody. They want to see people. They just they're for teeth they don't want to brush, they don't want to take care of their gums, they just don't want to come to the dental office. So this is really for other dentists. If you start to see something like this, you might want to try to talk to the parents. And maybe if the parents are not really responsive, then maybe we can try to talk to the school or somebody basically to just to try to see what is really going on underneath that outer layer. Like we're trying to dig into the inner layers to see what's going on. And I know a lot of our patients actually, they would trust talking to the dentist sometimes because we're very close to the patient. So sometimes, like I personally had patients who kind of told me that they never actually admitted that, but they told me that they had schizophrenia without putting that on the papers. But they did tell me, yeah, but the other person. And I said, which one is with me now? We are kind of, I mean, we're dentists. We did take some courses in like psychology, and this is maybe when they start to trust you like this. Maybe this is where your role as a healthcare provider is to start to direct them and guide them to where to go and who to contact. And this is for all my colleagues out there and also for the parents too. If you start to see, like, so as Trish and Kurt says, if you start to see something is off with your child, you need to sit and try to talk to your kid. It's really important, why you are not playing with your other friends, why you are not something is going on, and you just need to try to find out what's going on exactly. But mostly, really, I think as a community now, especially with all what you told me about, the lack of funding. I mean, all of us together, we live in one community, and we need to work together to make sure that our youth will find the help they need. This is very, very important, and I really appreciate that you and Kurt are trying to really raise awareness out of this. Like, this is like every parent's worst nightmare ever. And I really, I mean, yeah, God bless you and Kurt really for trying to take this out there and try to make the parents and the rest of the community aware of it. Now, with that being said, I know that you guys have certain events coming up for fundraising, and I'm gonna put all the email, the website, I'm gonna put everything in the show notes, because this is really, this is very hard on any person, or specifically parents, to actually go out there and say, this is what happened, and I'm trying to help you to take care of your own child or the community itself. So I'm gonna put everything in the show notes. Do you want to add anything, Trish?
Well, what I do want to add is that the good statistics are that these illnesses, when treated early,
Mm-hmm.
70 to 90% of them are treatable.
Okay. Wow.
Which, yes, and people don't understand that. I think parents are afraid. I really believe that, that it can't be my child, that it's puberty, it's just hormones, it's just the change, is stress in school, but it could be your child. And the other thing too to keep in mind is sometimes parents think, well, my child's really smart, so it can't affect them. It's the smarter kids who are more impacted by these brain illnesses. Kenny, when he was 6, he had the long-term memory of a 29-year-old. He was gifted in math. So those are the things. Just think, my child's too smart. Your child, God bless them, might be very smart, but those are the kids you want to look out for. Those are the kids have those anxiety tendencies because they're striving for perfection. And it may not be you, the parent, or even the school putting the pressure on them, but they put so much internal pressure on themselves that parents need to be aware of that. So yeah, conversation. And the old belief was the contagion, why everybody wanted to sticker over Kenny's picture was the old belief was that if you talk to kids about these brain illnesses and suicide, you put the idea in their head. Well, what we now have discovered is that by talking to somebody with a healthy brain, they're not going to go hurt themselves. But when you talk to somebody who is struggling with an unhealthy brain, we give them permission to come forward and to ask for help. And that's what our hope is, that young people know that they can ask for help.
Absolutely. So I don't want to really stir like the past, but how did you know that he had some suicidal like thoughts?
So, and we talk about the past all the time. Somebody asked me earlier, is there anything about me that you want people to know? Like, my life is out there, and I feel it's important that we're open and honest about what we lived. So he was always a little quirky kid, as I said. But we felt we had the right support for him from a mental health point of view. Um, but it was about freshman year. He was not sleeping, and this is something really important for parents to know. Sleep is so important for their mental development and their brain health that they need to know, how much is their child sleeping. Phones need to be away, charging someplace else, technology out of the bedroom. Bedroom is for sleeping. Kenny was not sleeping. He was sleeping maybe 2 to 3 hours a night because we were so busy trying to build that college resume, right? He was in math honors classes, keeping up good grades, always A, B student. He also had a learning disability, so the amount of time he had to spend on all of his assignments was actually double what the average student had to spend. So keeping up his good grades, he swam on 2 different swim teams because again, we're building that college resume. That's what all the parents are talking about. You need to do this and this and this to get your kid into college. And he swam 2 to 3 hours a day, 6 days a week, 11 months out of the year. He
Wow.
worked as a lifeguard at the Princeton YWCA. He worked at the stage crew. Like he did so many different things. And he enjoyed them all. He did. He enjoyed them all. But what was being sacrificed was sleep. And I remember as if it was yesterday. It was about halfway through freshman year, and I said, Kenny, how is it that your body's not shutting down? You're not sleeping enough. And what I did not know, because we don't talk about it as parents, it was his brain that was shutting down. And it was only a couple weeks after that conversation when our world changed forever. He disappeared. He was home and he was supposed to help Kurt with a project and he just disappeared. And that was not like Kenny. Kenny really enjoyed working with his dad, doing projects and building things. And he actually that day. This is why it's so important, why we don't, with healthy brains, we don't understand, the unhealthy brain or the suicidal brain. That day he went and he stood on the train tracks. However, he had to come home because he had to go to work. His healthy side of his brain was telling him, you have to go to work. While he was battling, his brain was battling with itself. And thank goodness he did come home that day. And I was talking to a friend who was a child psychologist, and she said, bring him to the hospital. I had no idea, no idea what we were going to encounter. And the thing, though, that I'll never forget about that day was I said, Kenny, we have to go to the hospital. He got up and he walked with me. Not an argument, not a no, not in anything. He knew he was in crisis. He had not expressed that to us yet, and he knew he needed help, and he came with us. And then that was the day we found out in the ER that he did stand on the tracks and he was actively suicidal.
Wow.
And he was hospitalized 6 times in those 3 years. And it just, every hospitalization was a challenge. Some of them were positive, some of them were set back. It depended upon the atmosphere in the hospital at the time. But mental health hospitals are not very pleasant. And they tell the kids, we make it that way so you don't want to come back.
Oh
But
my God.
they don't really get the support. Unfortunately, what we found was they would stick a medication on them and say, here, go. Let's see if it works. That's kind of what happens. The first medicine he was on, he was only home 3 hours before he was back again. He became hypomanic.
Oh my
And yeah, and then that day we thought he was also going to die. That was the day I learned about suicide by cop. I had called the police because he disappeared. And this policeman was approaching him politely, professionally, but in Kenny's unhealthy brain said he wanted to die that day. So he was going to charge the police officer and try to grab his gun so the police officer would shoot him.
oh
So
my God.
people need to understand suicide by cop, because my heart goes out to a lot of these police officers who find themselves in situations with mentally unwell people. And if we don't comprehend that, these people want to die. Their unhealthy brains are telling them that there's no purpose left in living and they want to die, but they don't know how to do it. So again, that police officer that day, he was a West Windsor police officer, and we work very closely with the West Windsor Police, and that the chief is an amazing man. He understands mental health issues. He promotes mental health education with his officers. And that day, that officer turned Kenny around from wanting to kill himself to coming home and then going to the hospital. So you never know. One person can help save a child's life. One person. I've heard stories where somebody is in that suicidal mindset and they get a text or one phone call with somebody checking in. And that can flip their unhealthy brain from being in suicidal mode to back into I want to live mode. And sometimes it can be so simple. But unfortunately, we ran out of time. We ran out of time, and Kenny ran out of hope, and people at the end were not really nice to him. And he just, unfortunate. He believed, because what I've always said is that the illness, the illness is a burden, not the child, not the human with the illness, but the illness. Because we never knew. I never knew if he was going to wake up in the morning. I never knew if he was going to be in his bed in the morning. I never knew if he was going to refuse to go to school, if he was going to go to school. I never knew. Sometimes he would tell me, Mom, I need to drive, because moving used to help him quiet his brain. He used to say he had these thoughts that went through his brain so fast, so fast, so fast, he couldn't slow them down. But movement helped him. So walking. Sometimes he would walk for hours. And I had to trust that he's not going to kill himself during this walk. And we would be texting each other, Kenny checking in, and he was always so good at checking in with me. Or we would go, sometimes it'd be 11 o'clock at night, Mom, I need to go drive. And I'd get out of bed And we get in the car and we had the same path. We drive up Route 1, we cross over to East Windsor, go 130, and then we'd come back, and it was about an hour drive. By the time the hour drive was done, he was sleepy and he'd go to bed. So those are the things that it can be so stressful for family. And then living with this, that nobody else understands what you're living with.
Yeah.
And then the person who is living with the illness feels this sense of responsibility, guilt. Everyone would be better off without me.
Wow.
And what we would have lived in a brown box for Kenny. We would have done anything for him. But the unhealthy brain, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who have had a suicidal brain and who have told me, they attempted and they did not die. They told me, though, that they feel their unhealthy brains lie and tell them they are a burden to everyone around them. And that's why, as hard as it is, I say, take a deep breath and just tell people you love them and you're there for them. And whatever I need to do to help support, get you through this, I'm there for you. And that is really hard, day after day after day. It is really hard.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Trish, for opening up. That's, yeah. I mean, you guys, whoever is watching us on YouTube or listening to us on Spotify or iHeartRadio or Apple, please, I'm going to put in the show notes how you can help yourself as a parent, or if you have neighbors, you can help them, how to reach out. I'm going to put all the contacts for Trish and their nonprofit to basically increase awareness about mental health and what to look for in your kids. And you can email them directly if something is going on and you need the answers. I'm pretty sure they can help you out. They can guide you at least where to go, on what to do. And for anybody who can at least donate or help a little bit, anything can help. Okay, especially now with all the funding situation, anything can help. And yeah.
I'm sorry. We have 6 dogs. They are all active therapy dogs, and the UPS made a delivery.
Yeah.
So, hey.
So they want to come and they want to come in the podcast now.
They want to come on. They like to make their voices heard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, they were good for a while, but again, when I saw the UPS truck coming, I knew we were in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
so is that something that you can repeat, or is that something that can be edited out, all the barking? I
no,
don't know.
I didn't hear anything. That was actually
oh, awesome. Okay.
That was very good. Yes.
Okay.
And, yeah. And I really appreciate you guys opening up today. That was really that's a really heavy episode today, but I hope everybody who is going through this or who are looking for answers for themselves or their kids or their nephews or nieces, at least now they can talk about it. They know where to go. They can contact you guys. And for my colleagues as dentists too, you guys have I mean, all of us, we really check, but let's try to link everything together. Some grinding, some anxiety, some oral neglect, some I don't want to do this. Like, we need to connect the dots together to try to help each other and try to help the community.
Exactly. And most important, there should be no embarrassment in talking about biological brain illnesses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No judgment. Absolutely. That's number one thing we do as dentists. No judgment, for whatever reason. Yeah. I really want to thank you today, Trish and Kurt. And I really want to thank you for opening up and tell us about your story. How, yeah, this is very inspiring. And I want everybody else to look up to you guys. And I mean, I have no words. That was very touchy today. Very, very touchy today. And for everybody out there, I will be seeing you guys on October 8th. There is a fundraiser event for AIR, or Attitudes in Reverse. It's going to be in Central New Jersey. That's October 8th of 2025. If you cannot attend in person, then I'm going to also put in the show notes how you can help and support this wonderful nonprofit organization. And with this, I want to thank my amazing guests today, Kurt and Trish. And take care of your smile, take care of your teeth, take care of yourself so that yourself can take care of you. Until then, keep smiling with Dr. Saad. Have a good one,